friends, my name is Katie. Welcome back to my channel, Life Between Words. I'm here today to do an author overview of Kate Morton. I just finished her most recent book, The Lake House, and instead of doing a review of The Lake House, I thought I'd just talk about her books in general and sort of what you get when you read a Kate Morton book. Kate Morton is an Australian author. She's written 5 books. I've read them all. She has a degree in English literature. She also completed a master's degree that focused on tragedy in Victorian literature, and you can really tell when you read her novels that that area of expertise plays a big role in all of her books. Once I started reading Kate Morton's novels, they quickly became some of my favorite because they harken back to the romantic gothic novels that we all love, like Jane Eyre and Rebecca. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte and Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, which are also sort of classic romantic gothic novels. This one more of a modern classic, and this one, of course, an older classic. All of Kate Morton's books could be considered modern gothic romantic tales. And when I say gothic romantic, I don't mean romantic in the sense of ooey gooey gushy romance. I mean romantic in the sense of the emotional, imaginative, mysterious romantic, like Jane Eyre, which is also romantic in the heart sense, but there's a lot of emotion in Charlotte Bronte's writing, and that's what, when people talk about Jane Eyre as a romantic book, that's generally what they mean. They're not talking about the romance part of it, they're talking about the romantic nature of the book. And Kate Morton's books are the same way. They're romantic in nature, they are very emotional, they always involve a mystery, and they can be very sad. All of them have made me cry, but they all also leave me feeling very satisfied at the end of the book. They wrap up so nicely, and often the ending is bittersweet. There's some sadness and sweetness in there mixed in together, and I love that. I find that mix of sweetness and sadness really satisfying. So going on from there, all of Kate Morton's books follow a certain formula. If you don't like the formula, you're probably not going to like her books. The books always start with the premise that something tragic has happened in a family's history. And then in the present day, someone either from the family or an outsider is trying to unravel that mystery. And they go back to the place where the tragic occurrence happened, and they start to pick up the pieces and figure out what really happened. Another thing that all of Kate Morton's books have is a real sense of place. The houses and grounds that these books take place in are practically characters in and of themselves. Her books are very atmospheric and shrouded in mystery and sometimes foreboding. They feel very ghostly, even though there aren't any ghosts in the books. The other thing that I really love about Kate Morton's books is that she always finds a way to weave in the love of books in some way. So every book either has an element of literature or pays homage to classic literature or has a writer in it. Somehow you always come away with an appreciation for books and writing and the art of those things. Like I said before, Kate Morton has written 5 books. Her first novel was The House at Riverton. I think it was published in Australia as The Shifting Fog, but it was sold internationally as The House at Riverton. The House at Riverton is sort of an upstairs, downstairs, Downton Abbey kind of feeling book. We follow a cast of characters in the 1920s and present day. The mystery in this book surrounds the death of a poet on the night of a party that happened in 1924 at Riverton. Grace Bradley knows what happened, but the mystery surrounding this poet's death has gone unsolved for many, many years until Grace Bradley is basically on her deathbed. She's living in a nursing home, and a filmmaker comes and wants to make a film of this night of the party, and then slowly the mystery of what really happened in 1924 gets unraveled. Her second novel was The Forgotten Garden. This one really pays homage to The Secret Garden. I mean, obviously the title is The Forgotten Garden, and in the book there is a secret garden. And Frances Hodgson Burnett, who wrote The Secret Garden that we all know and love, makes sort of a cameo appearance in the book, and you're supposed to come to the conclusion that she got the inspiration for The Secret Garden from The Secret Garden in this book. The premise of this book is that in 1913, a little girl finds herself on a boat headed for Australia. She is apparently abandoned and the dock worker and his wife end up taking her in and raising her. Eventually, she learns the truth about her beginnings, and she goes back to England to figure out where she really comes from and who she really is. She finds herself at Blackhurst Manor on the Cornish coast. But she doesn't end up figuring out the mystery herself. It ends up being her daughter Cassandra, and she's the one who ends up unraveling it all. This one is in my top Kate Morton books. I loved The Forgotten Garden a lot. Her third novel was The Distant Hours. The Distant Hours takes place at Milderhurst, where the three Blythe sisters have lived their whole lives. They were raised there, and they live there now as old ladies. The two elder Blythe sisters have cared for Juniper, their younger sister, since 1941, when she was jilted by her beau, and the mystery surrounds what happened to Juniper and this man that she was in love with. The mystery begins to unravel when our protagonist in the present day, Edie, receives a letter that was sent to her mother that had been lost in the mail for years and years. This letter leads her to begin uncovering this mystery. Her fourth novel was The Secret Keeper. The Secret Keeper, probably my favorite of Kate Morton's novels, takes place on a family's cottage farm. And the mystery involves our main character, Laurel. One seemingly normal day, after her family had a picnic, she witnesses a crime in the front of her house. And she doesn't really understand what she saw, but it changes the dynamics of her family and how she views her family, especially her mother. 50 years later, when she goes back to the farm to celebrate her mother's 90th birthday, she begins to look back to this event and starts to unravel the mystery about what really happened that day on her family's farm and the implications of it in her mother's life especially. And her most recent novel, published this past fall, is The Lake House. The mystery of The Lake House surrounds the Edivane family who live on their family estate called Laneth, which means the lake house in Cornish. I actually don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. That's how I think it's pronounced. Perhaps I should have looked that up, but I think it's pronounced Laneth. It's Loenneth. Please correct me if I'm wrong. So one night in 1933, the Edivane's youngest child, a little boy, who's I think 11 months old, disappears out of his crib, never to be seen again. No one knows what happened to this child. We don't know if he's living, we don't know if he died, and the family is left to grapple with his absence. Then, in present day, a detective comes across Laneth, the lake house, and she begins to unravel this mystery about what really happened that night in 1933 and what really happened to this little boy. I recommend all of Kate Morton's books, but I will tell you my personal three favorites: The Secret Keeper, The Forgotten Garden, and The Lake House. I felt captured by the plots of these three books the most. I do know for some people The Distant Hours is their favorite. I liked this one, but it wasn't my personal favorite. Like I said, I recommend Kate Morton to everyone, although I'm not sure that everyone wants to read all her books because they do sort of follow the same formula, but for me, that formula works. I like the stories that she tells. For some people, if you read a lot of mysteries, you might be able to see the ending coming from a mile away, but I feel like Kate's writing is strong enough and the story compelling enough that even if you're able to figure out the mystery, you're gonna want to know exactly how it all comes together, and you care about the characters enough that it pulls you along to the end, even if you know what's going to happen. I find them the perfect mix of characters and mystery with a touch of romance and just good storytelling. That is my overview of Kate Morton. I would be so curious to know if any of you have read Kate Morton, what book is your favorite? Like I said, I think my very favorite is The Secret Keeper, although I have a hard time choosing a second favorite between The Lake House and The Forgotten Garden. If you haven't read Kate Morton, I'd love to know what book you'd like to start with, or if you don't think she's going to be for you, because not every author is for everyone. I'm so glad that you dropped by again today. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you liked this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Where are the dandelions that you've picked?
Hi!
Is Val here?
Hi! Hello! Are you picking dandelions? Yeah.
Well, can you pick one? Show me how you can pick a dandelion, Fox.
Pick 5.